Yes, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to Veterans Minimum. I'm your host, Nick Deus. At Nick Deus10 as you can find me, veteransminimum.com as you can find all things VM. Joining me now for the first time in a long time, I would say. Isn't it, Alan? Hasn't it been a while, bro, since we've been on the show together?
Well, we've been waiting for a significant NFL
Yeah.
moment and legal tampering, which, man, they really need to figure out a better name. Come on, we're living 2023, but nevertheless, significant things are happening in football right now, so it had to happen.
Where do you want to start, bro?
Oof.
Because there's a
I'm
lot of
still,
goodies. There's a lot of goodies. So where do you want
yeah,
to
I'm
start?
still trying to process Jalen Ramsey for a third round pick. With Jalen Ramsey, not too long ago, I know he's coming off a down year, but Jalen Ramsey was considered, if not the best corner, top three on everyone's list. And to see him go for a third round pick just I don't know, like, it hurt. I was just like, "How can a premium player go like this?" But credit to Miami, they clearly are loading up. They know I don't know if it's their window, but they just know in the AFC, you need as much talent as possible to compete, and they're just stocking up.
And it kind of to touch on the Rams, they kind of had to make a move like this because they need as much draft capital as they could get. And I think they're in a weird spot where they don't have they have a lot of guys making a lot of money, and it's taking up a majority of their cap. And I talked about this on a previous episode how guys that are going to get cut or released or that are going to get traded, oftentimes it's not because they're bad players anymore. It's just that the numbers don't align with what they're trying to do. And you're right. I think this is a good move for them. He's 28 years old. I feel like he was a lot older. Like I feel like
Same.
he's been in the league for a while now, and he just strikes me as a guy who I would have guessed over 30 at this point, but he is only one of seven players in the entire league to make each of the last six Pro Bowls. I know Pro Bowl is very misleading sometimes. We did have Huntley from the Ravens be the Pro Bowl quarterback, and yeah, a little misleading. But Ramsey, you're right. It wasn't too long ago, bro, where he was the best DB in the league, defensive player of the year candidate, and a staple for that Rams defense, who the Rams had also given up a bunch of picks to the Jaguars. Now he goes back to Florida, but he heads even further south. This move, though, to me, dude, is I think the writing was on the wall with how bad the Rams season went last year for them. And yeah, some guys got hurt and that ruined it for them, but it was a really bad year for a defending Super Bowl champ, Allen. And I felt like they had to do something drastic.
He looked disgruntled too. I just seems like he was giving up on plays. I think Raheem Morris defense they play a lot of zone. He wants to play more man, and well, he's going to the right scheme with Vic Fangio. So I think that would be a good fit for him. So sometimes you just need a fresh start, especially given the Rams situation. Yeah, they got to clear up a lot of cap space. So it's just I think the exciting thing about Miami, yeah, they're loading up. But at the same time, I think this does have the possibility of crashing and burning just because they have so many players that either a little bit aging or they're paying a lot of money for players that are just injury prone. You look at Xavier Howard, you look at Teron Armstead, look at the quarterback situation. Like as exciting as this Dolphins roster is, they could push, but at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me if things just completely fell apart because so many of their star players are injury prone or they're somewhat on the downside of their careers. And I'm not trying to imply Rams on the downside of his career, but he's got a lot to prove because there was times where he was getting picked on last year. And granted by some of the best players, Stephon Diggs, or even a guy like Chris Olave, but it's just I would be a little cautious with Miami, even though totally agree. Let's be excited.
Bro, it's such a weird position, corner, where you can be the best player in the league and then year to year, like it could change drastically. Like teams might not throw at you at all, and the next year you might give up like 12 touchdowns. Like it's wild. Like the amount of times. That's why what Revis did was so impressive. Champ Bailey, even Patrick Peterson for a long time, man. Like they were like the elite corners in the league. And now, like even with Sauce Gardner, he comes into the league and right away, I would probably say he's the best. He's the best corner in football already, just after year one. But is that going to be sustainable year in, year out? They pick up more on your tendencies. It's always tricky. But with Ramsey, you started seeing it during the Super Bowl, dude. Like during that Super Bowl run, Mike Evans had a big game in the playoffs against them. You had Ayuk and Debo were doing whatever they wanted. And then in the Super Bowl,
Higgins.
T. Higgins went bananas. He had over 100 yards in that too. So Yeah, he is a really good corner. He's held to a high standard, but he's not exactly untouchable, dude. And I feel like the Rams are just in a position now where they have to dump some of these salaries that they have because they're well over the cap and they have no draft capital. And I know they probably wanted more than just a third round pick for Ramsey, but you're also dumping one of the highest paid salaries for a DB to Miami, also, who now has, they're going to have to make a decision on Bradley Chubb, who they have over there too, that they gave up a first round pick for. And they picked up the fifth year
He's
option.
another injury prone player.
Yeah. Yeah, they picked up the fifth year option on Tua, but you also have Tyreek Hill now that makes north of $30 million a year. So you're right. It could end really, really bad for Miami, despite getting all these big names, Allen.
Yeah. They did sign David Long, who I think is one of the most underrated three down linebackers. Just I think got announced like 10 minutes ago. So I like that move a lot as well. I think he was a big staple of why that Titans defense was among the better units in the league.
The Bears made a massive trade, which I, as a Justin Fields backer, it's an A-plus trade for me. They get DJ Moore from Carolina, and now the Panthers have the number one pick in the draft. And maybe the Bears are in love with a guy that they feel they could get at 9. That they could still possibly draft a quarterback. I don't think so, but what they're doing is exactly what I want. Young quarterback. Now you have DJ Moore, who is being paid as a top wide receiver in the league. I think he is a top wide receiver in the league. One of the, he's a top 10 wide receiver in my opinion. He's played with a lot of bad quarterbacks. I think Justin Fields is an upgrade. I think it's going to be able to properly evaluate Justin Fields. Now Mooney's going to slot into a wide receiver too, which I felt like he'd always be a phenomenal number 2 wide receiver. And yeah, you got Claypool there. Who knows what's going to happen with him? And if it's going to, he might get cut during training camp. You never know with Claypool. But I just love what Chicago did. They have a ton of cap space, and now you'll be able to see like what's good with Justin Fields.
Yeah. I don't think they care about 9. I think it's just a matter of getting draft capital. They
Yeah,
want to load up for the future because they have so many holes on their roster. Hence why they have the most cap space, probably been the most active team in free agency. So, yeah, I love the move for Chicago, but I think it's more of just like we need to build for the future. We're going to believe in Fields. And I think DJ Moore was just a big coup in this. I was surprised. I thought, okay, they're getting first round picks. Everything's loading up. I was like, wow, DJ Moore.
mm,
Okay, this is a huge asset for a team that desperately needs receivers, and for team just in general. Like the receiver market, as we know, is so bad this year; it's really bleak. So for them to get one of the better receivers in the league, someone that's still ascending, terrific route runner, you use them on jet sweeps, end arounds, like it's exciting. So A plus move for Chicago, much needed, and it's going to get to points like okay, Justin Fields, he's shown those flashes. Now can he put together a sustainable body of work?
I love what you said about DJ Moore, and it's so true. Where he's still ascending. We haven't really seen him in his absolute apex yet. You're not getting a wide receiver where I would love DeAndre Hopkins, but I think we've seen the best of D Hop already. I think we've seen the best of Odell already. 20 teams were at his workout on Friday. So when you make this move for DJ Moore, I think you're still going to get him to level up once again. And what he's going to do for this offense and what he's going to do for Justin Fields, I think is great. And also, let's not forget, my New York Giants ended up getting an extra first round pick in the Fields trade when they went up to get Fields. So them trading back now, they've acquired more draft picks. So it's an
Yeah.
amazing move. It's what I wanted Chicago to do. I think Chicago potentially could be very, very sneaky next year if Justin Fields ends up taking that now 3rd-year leap. We usually get it in year 2, that leap in the quarterback. But man, now he's going to have a legitimate weapon, and I think that's going to work wonders for him. So I'm excited for this move. I completely missed this until now. Jimmy G is on the Raiders, Allen.
Yeah, Raiders just doing Raider things. You don't really know what their plan is, but
Why
they're
not
doing
stay,
something.
bro? Why not stay with Carr at that point? Am I bugging?
I think the trust is broken, but I agree with
Yeah,
you there. But
that's
Garoppolo is not an upgrade. He's someone you can't trust to play a full season. I know he took some strides, but I think that was more due to Shanahan's system rather than himself. it's a very uninspiring move. I'm a Raider fan. I'm hoping Jarrett Stidham, if they do open competition, that Jarrett Stidham beats him out. But based on that contract, I think Garoppolo is going there to be a starter.
Look, he does have a pre-existing relationship with Josh McDaniels, so that's something that would get me a little bit more excited if I'm a Raider fan. You're right about the trust being broken, and also like Jimmy G's gonna have weapons to work with. I like some of the weapons that the Raiders have for sure with Waller and Adams and Renfro, and they did the franchise with Josh Jacobs.
I'd be bummed out on Devontae Adams right now because Jimmy, he just can't throw outside numbers. He's not the most consistent deep ball thrower. Like, man, I don't want to see Devontae Adams become a possession receiver, but I fear he might.
Well, yo, also you got to be bummed out that you ended up joining the Raiders to play with your boy, and then after one season, you didn't. Well, you didn't even get to complete a season with him. They just got rid of him.
He got a raw deal, and like Devontae Adams, like, he's the cream of the crop, man. How you gonna treat him like this? Ugh.
Yo, you think if he could do it over, knowing what he knows now, he stays in Green Bay?
Yeah, I would assume so, but
Yeah.
money talks, and who knows what Green Bay situation is, given that they've been in the news all day.
What do you make of Rodgers to the Jets? A lot of people are saying all but confirmed.
Yeah, for sure. Like, look, the Jets are pretty much, especially the coaching staff. I would say maybe not Joe Douglas, because Joe Douglas, that draft looks like to be one of the best ones in a long time with Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall, who am I blanking? Oh, Sauce Gardner, of course. Like, I think Joe Douglas would be safe, but Robert Sala, he's someone that I think is on the hot seat. So I think they're just pushing by any means. Get this year. Let's at least get to the playoffs. Like, I don't know if it's a hot take, but I think the Jets could be the fourth best team in the AFC if they get Rodgers and they continue to load up the roster a little bit. I don't think they're going to go over the Chiefs or the Bengals or the Bills, but I put them right up there with Miami and Jacksonville if they get Rodgers because they got the skill position players, they got the really good defense. Although I think that defense got a little overrated by the end of the season, but they're still a really good unit. So you get Rodgers in there, they're going to win 11 games. So make it happen. I think the Jets will be relevant. It's just, can they push past the second round? That's where you have major doubts.
Well, so that was going to be one of my questions to you. If he goes to the Jets, like where do you put him in the AFC? You answered that. I think they would definitely be a playoff team because it just got to be.
Yeah.
He don't even need to be that ridiculous. Like he's not going to be an MVP again, but I think depending on what the Jets also lose, we got to factor that because they're going to have to give up some assets in order to bring him in here. I would love the offense, obviously. And you mentioned that the defense kind of fell off at the end. It's like, yeah, bro, but no shit. Isn't it going to fall off when you know that Zach Wilson's going to go out? It's going to be a 3-and-out every time he touches the ball, or he's going to cause a turnover, and then the other team's going to have 1st and 10 from the 18-yard line. Of course, they're going to be dejected when they go out there. But I think
80 snaps a game.
Yeah, they're exhausted, dude. They're on the field for 40 minutes a game. Of course, they're going to fall off a little bit. But you're right about Salah being on the hot seat. I also think, like, bro, Joe Douglas got to make the playoffs too. How many years has it been for them? Also, I know that he's going to have the cachet of the draft. Also, Johnson that they drafted in the first round was a pretty promising piece for them. And
but GMs get more leeway. Like they always give GMs more time, I feel like.
Yeah, it's usually the coach that's the scapegoat first, and then you kind of work backwards from there. But I think they would be a playoff team for sure. I mean, they were almost a playoff team last year with how bad the quarterbacks were. And a lot of people are just blindly betting the Jets to win the Super Bowl next year. I'm not going to get that crazy. I still think that it's I'm not even putting Buffalo, bro. I think it's Kansas City, Cincinnati in the AFC, and then it's the next tier where you have your Jaguars, your Bills.
That's fair.
I'd put the Jets in there. I'd put the Chargers in there. You know, as I sigh because we always we're always high on the Chargers. Yeah, well, look, they made some moves too. They restructured a lot of cap space to free up like close to $30 million, which I don't know how they did that because they had a bad cap situation. And then right before we started recording, we get the alert that Austin Ekeler asks for a trade request. I think he's a massive part for this offense, and he's been a guy to bail out Justin Herbert many, many times with the check down and how great he is out the backfield. Dude, he's had over 35 touchdowns in the last 2 seasons. Back to back years, he led the NFL in touchdowns, but he's in a weird position where he wants to get paid. And I don't know if the Chargers want to allocate a lot of money to that position, especially with Herbert, Lumen, two wide receivers making north of 19 million a year. You got Mack, you got Bosa. There's a lot. There's it seems like both LA teams, bro, except Herbert hasn't gotten paid yet, but both LA teams are paying 5 or 6 guys like 70% of their cap. And then everyone else is, all right, we're just gonna sign a bunch of dudes to these low end contracts and hope for the best.
Yeah, I think Mac was owed like 38 million, which is absurd. And let's not even talk about that JC Jackson contract.
Oof.
That's bad. Yeah. So like the Chargers are they try to
Bro,
front load everything and
JC
now they're paying the price.
JC Jackson, we were talking about it before with corners. 2 years ago, he's the best corner in football. And now I know he got hurt, but now you're looking at that contract and like, yo, it's laughable. That position is hard for you to maintain at a high level. That's why the ones that do end up becoming Hall of Famers and have such an amazing, amazing resume and career. But it's difficult for you as a DB, not as a DB, but as a cornerback to play at that high level. That's why when you do have one like that, you got to capitalize, and it helps open up so many things for your defense.
Agreed. You know where I think Eckler could go, and it would be a really nice just fit given that their history with these types of running backs. I think Eckler is made for Carolina.
Hmm.
I just think the way they could replace McCaffrey, give their first overall pick a safety plug right away. Like Eckler could catch 80 passes. You can utilize him in a variety of ways. And given how bad the receiver market is, like Carolina's gonna be struggling for skill position players next year. So I know they have the offensive line and they got like this. They want to build a physical running game, but there's not like you could fit Eckler into your offense. I think because Eckler runs bigger than his size. He may not have explosiveness. He may not have those like desirable traits you want from running back. Look, this guy's still productive, and you can utilize him in so many different ways. So all this, I just hear this nonsense like, "Oh, Eckler isn't all that great." I'm like, look, he doesn't have the breakaway speed. He's not going to break 4 tackles, but look, he has just a great skill set to just, whether it's to run the ball 15 times or catch 10 passes. Like, and he's durable as well. Like, don't underestimate Austin Eckler. So I could see a team like Carolina fitting him in there and kind of making him the centerpiece of that offense. Because Carolina, I think, wants to compete right away. They know the NFC South is there for taking.
Yeah, I like that one. I like that fit. You were talking about the receiver market being a little weak this offseason. I want to, before we get into some UFC talk with Brett Lawson, I do got to give some love to the Jaguars, bro, because they signed your boy, Calvin Ridley. They traded for Ridley, last year, knowing that he was going to serve the suspension for being one of us. He's being one of us, Alan. He likes to degen a little bit. Whether it's cool to know that he's one of us, is all I'm saying. But now you're looking at what the Jaguars are going to put out there. Bro, Ridley as a number one, Kirk now as a number two, and he had a monster year last year. Ingram is back. Zay Jones is back. Etienne out the backfield. Like, you're looking at this offense like, oh, Trevor Lawrence improving, Doug Peterson. I just think that was a great, great move for the Jaguars, who used to be, you would laugh at the Jaguars. And you even laughed at them last year going into the offseason with how much money that they spent on all these signings. And then now you're looking at it as, they've built a contender down there in Jacksonville. You're talking about the NFC South being up for grabs. I think the AFC South is theirs. Like, no one's there. They should be the favorite. Like, last year was the highest odds you'll ever get on the Jaguars to win the division. 9-1, like we had said, the only way that they can make the playoffs is for them to win the division. You're never going to see 9-1 again for the Jaguars. For the next decade, as long as Trevor Lawrence is there, they're going to be the favorite to win that division. And now you're just looking at this offense, bro. I'm very excited to be talking about the Jaguars next year, Alan.
And I think he goes into a good system where they could let him acclimate for a bit. Like, he doesn't need to be the number one guy immediately. Because look, Ridley, as special as a talent he is, he's going to need time to be back because he's been gone for essentially a year and a half. So that's exciting. He's going to be easily the best play caller because the play calling in Atlanta was atrocious when he was there. So for him to be with Doug Pearson, who could scheme plays for him, get him the ball in the open field would be big. But I think with Ridley, though, like, this guy just gets open. He creates separation. Such a terrific route runner. You also put him in the slot, even though I know that's where like Christian Kirk's bread and butter is. But I just think the positional flexibility and Jacksonville, I do think they needed like a vertical threat. Like their receiving corps was missing speed and like the alpha. I don't know if really could be the alpha just because let's give him time to get back into the NFL, but he possesses so many things that they needed as just an offense. So yeah, absolutely love the fit. And it's just a matter of really at this point because I think Jacksonville has the infrastructure to put him in that position to succeed.
I want to wrap with this. Give me one name as we head into free agency that you think can be a game changer for a team to sign.
Well, a few of them have already gone. Can I give you a couple? Like, there's two that
Yeah.
I think.
Some that potentially could go to a new team.
Okay. Oh wait, so not yet, or I could do it yet.
Whatever you desire.
I think we have to mention Javon Hargrave going to San Fran. What on? I don't know how San Fran afforded this, but good lord, Javon Hargrave and Nick Bosa. That is not fair. Like to be Hargrave, besides Chris Jones, was the best D tackle in the league last year. Like he was unblockable at times. Like we could talk about that Philly D line, but Hargrave's the one that put him over the top. And now you put him in San Francisco. Those stunts are going to run. I think Ark Armstead will be there another year, but he has a bit of a tough cap situation. But I think San Fran knows once again it's their window, and they're just going to spend and load up and see what happens with Lance and Purdy, even though who knows what Purdy's situation is. But yeah, that move blew me away because I thought Hargrave was going to end up like in Chicago where a team had like 80, 90 million cap space. But like San Fran did not see that coming in. For San Fran, as we know, Super Bowl contender. They felt Hargrave's wrath in the NFC Championship last year. Now they got him. Oof. It's the Niners. I know we like to joke around the Chargers are like the off-season team that got hyped about, but I feel like the Niners have become that team a bit, but at least the Niners live up to expectations.
Yeah, that
Once again.
I don't think that's fair because at least the Niners are in the conference title game pretty much every year since
Yeah.
Shanahan's gotten there, where the Chargers like barely make the playoffs.
Fair enough. I don't want to put them in, I shouldn't put them on a tier, but I think the Niners are a team that we do tend to get excited about in the offseason. And I just think it's now going to be another year where we do because I think Hargrave is an absolute game wrecker. He's missed only 3 games in like 8 years being in the league. So incredible move. John Lynch, once again, was a stud.
Yeah, that one's going to be good. It also weakens an opponent in your conference. And already, like Darius Slay, he's requested to talk to other teams because the Eagles have a lot of people that they got to pay, man, on that defense especially. And they haven't paid Hurts yet. So that's why the two teams that did really, really well this year that I was very, very high on coming into the season were Philly and Minnesota. And there's a lot of red flags heading into this offseason and into next season where I would be concerned if I'm a fan of either of those teams. I think a lot of decisions got to be made. The Vikings lost Patrick Peterson. He announced it on a podcast. Adam Thielen they got rid of. Dalvin Cook, who knows what happens with him. There are some reports that I'm reading from people whose opinion I trust in Minnesota saying that they might make a decision there because he's a big cap hit. So it's going to be this is going to be fun. The next couple of weeks is going to be fun. The NFL has become a 12-month sport, and they don't take no breaks. There's always news. Like this Aaron Rodgers thing, we've been talking about it since the season ended, and we still don't have an answer. So it's going to be fun to monitor this over the next couple of weeks. Before we talk UFC with Brett Lawson, Alan, tell the people where they can find you if they want to contact you and if you're working on anything.
Alan Sturk, that's ALENSTRK. And yes, I'm covering a team that is currently winning the offseason. The Atlanta Falcons are making moves for the first time in 5 years. I am very enthusiastic. Jesse Bates, David Onyemata, Jonnu Smith, Chris Lindstrom, highest paid guard in the league. It's all happening in Atlanta right now. Atlanta, I don't know if they're relevant again, but damn it, they're winning the offseason. So baby steps.
Hey man, and I think it's cool to announce that you'll be in studio in a couple of weeks, bro.
Yes, I'm coming to Las Vegas, folks. Long time coming.
Let's go.
We built this up. We built this up from the basement era. Now we're going to be on the bright lights. I'm beyond thrilled for this, and yeah, we're going to be doing some content strategy these next few weeks, and we're going to be blasting out shows. Yep. Very much looking forward to it.
Yep. So the next time you'll hear Alan is going to be in studio. And we'll get that vibe back that we had back in Queens. So, Alan, thank you for joining us. For the rest of you, right after this break, we'll be talking UFC 286 this weekend, Edwards Usman. with Brett Lawson.